warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. It's been a harrowing 3 months, to say the least, for not just me, but just everybody on the planet. We've all been coping as corporates, as businesses, as individuals. And for the last 3 months, Brand Equity has been doing a show every week on the COVID-19 impact, in tune with our COVID-19 programming, talking about business impact, advertising, marketing, and, the whole gig. Today, after about 3 months and counting, we decided to take a break, take a breather from the COVID-19 programming and, just have some fun. I think if there's been anything missing in the last 3 months or so, it's been that we just do not have fun anymore. We're just working, everybody's overworked, and we're caged at home. This is a holy month for advertising. It's June. And if it was any ordinary year, most people in the advertising industry would have been in the south of France, working for their rosé rotis, their baguette muscas, and, a lot of intellectual pontification, a lot of parties, a lot of, good old camaraderie. And I think everybody in the creative industry is currently reminiscing on their respective timelines, looking back at, the Cannes Lions over the years, wishing we could have been there this year as well. However, times have changed, and we're, of course, grappling with, possibly the biggest crises that man has witnessed. But we don't know what tomorrow holds for us. On that note, today, just to have fun and a breather, and to talk about life in a free-spirited form with absolutely no agenda, I'm honored and excited to have some of the top minds in the creative fraternity. With so much joy today, I am looking forward to having a conversation with 7 of, the most fun people in this industry. Ideally, I would have liked to have fun with them, in Cannes, but that's not possible. So we're going to try and make this, Zoom barabar Zoom, and have a great time. And hopefully all of you watching can have as much fun as we're going to have over the next 30 minutes. With that, let me introduce to you the top creative minds who are joining me today for this grand Zoom party. Swati Bhattacharya, Ajay Ghalaut, Arun Iyer, Pawar, Sukesh Nayak, Josy Paul, and Agnello Dias. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready to have this party and just do some footloose and fancy-free talk? Let's just start with, how it's been personally for all of you for the last 3 months. I mean, I can tell you, for me, it's been one of the most intense experiences of my life and possibly the toughest. And I'm hoping we can overcome this as soon as possible. But let's hear from you, Aggie, on how it's been.
It is a bit surreal, but I'm quite confident that each of us has been affected in the brain a bit. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But the exact diagnosis of what's happened to us, we will know when we go and interact back with other people. Right now, we are still in it, so we do not know how it has affected us psychologically, at least for now, temporarily. And once we go back to work and start traveling to work, and I think the first 3 weeks we'll just go into talking about what happened while we were not at work. But we'll realize by and by, maybe 4 or 5 months from now, how it's changed us. So it is quite surreal, and quite sure that the psycho analysis group is already readying packages for post-COVID counseling.
Any of you are considering taking up, becoming a therapist full-time? Because they're definitely going to be in business. I'm not sure about advertising. But
if anybody is, I'd be sign up to be the first client. Right? I mean, might be more than you bargained for, but whatever.
It would be interesting to know where therapists go after they've been through 3 months of lockdown.
Exactly. Swati, how has it been for you?
You know, what Aggie said is true, because on an everyday basis, when a human being is made to feel vulnerable, it's like usually vulnerability comes in a little like a little period of time and it goes away. But this day upon day, I mean, I was just like my daughter's 10th boards. We were all geared for 10th boards this year. She gave half her exam and that's not, So I'm like, everything has just, but at the same time, has there been moments which have been in its own way uplifting or makes you feel, So it's such a mixed bag, but yes, overall, it is something, it gives you things to think about, to work on yourself a little bit, constantly look for some meaning when there isn't any. I mean, I can go on talking about COVID. Don't get me started.
Yeah. Bobby, how's it been for you to be caged at home 24/7? And, all of us are just, this virtual thing and being on calls, for me, shooting virtually, for all of you as well, shooting virtually and, being on client calls. Yeah. I mean, it must be really depressing.
Once I see a shrink, I'll find out just about how depressing, right? But yeah, I'm doing things I never thought I would, right? I never thought I'd be apologizing for saying what the WTF on a global Zoom call. But that happened, right? Because my son kicked a soccer ball in my face in the middle of a call. And I just yelled, what the... And then suddenly, because like a soccer ball travels fast, they just saw something hit me. And so now I'm trying to tell them that, dude, I wasn't cursing you out. This is what happened, right? You don't ever think that shit's going to happen to you, right? Also, I got to watch my jokes, right? Ain't no dead baby jokes happening. Nothing about contagion and vaccines, right? So all death and morbid humor is out of the window, which makes it kind of hard for me.
And Ajay, for you, I mean, I know you've been entertaining us with your grand jokes on social media. Please share some great anecdotes here as well on your 3 months.
Well, not too much has been happening, Sonali. I mean, there's, all the action is, sort of in the head. So it's very difficult to, but yes, there's like, I think Aggie said, and Swati was also mentioning, it's been a time where we've all sort of sat down and had to introspect, because we are not the introspecting kind, right? We are just running from pillar to post and doing campaigns and meetings, and we don't get time to sit down and actually think about stuff. And there's been nothing else to do, apart from there's no commute, there are no parties, there are no social engagements. So you're just sitting at home, and then you do some thinking, and after a while you say, oh man, I'm not good at this shit. I don't want to think anymore. I want to go out and have a good time. And I think it's high time. I hope this whole thing opens up soon, and there's a little more human contact, because that's the stuff of what we do. It's what we do is all about people, and if you're cut off from people, after a while it does tend to get a bit tiresome.
Josy, yes. How's it been? I mean, you've been pretty active. We've seen you on the debate with Aggie recently. We saw you do your Can Live virtual session. You're no more in your ashram, but how is it being creative at home, and how has it impacted your creativity? All you people are creative people. How is it impacting your creativity?
I echo everything that you guys have been saying. And look at this call, right? We've never had this call before. So there's always, everything's so new. And it's like you're still in the trip. You're going through this psychedelic trip. You're caught in it. So you've got to get out of it to even talk about it. So you're in the flow. And maybe that's why I'm wearing this shirt. Like I said earlier, it's like you're in suspended animation watching yourself, and it's just this surreal, I think, Swati used that term, surreal sort of looking out, looking in, talking to plants, listening to the birds. It's the commune you are having is a very unusual spa. It's a spa because it's like all kinds of other things are surrounding you, And so I think it's like a born again sort of. You're still in that fetal zone, You're still in the fetus of this funny pandemic embryo. Yeah.
I knew it. I knew I could get this esoteric, cryptic explanation, Josy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Arun, what's your take on, on this great spa-like experience we're going through?
So Sonali, I have a completely counter view. I've it's been a crazy ride, no doubt about it. It's been surreal, it's been crazy and all that. But to be very honest, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've in the last maybe 17, 18 years, I've never been home for more than a week ever. I've always been on a plane. I've been in different cities, in different countries. I've never been home at this stretch ever in my life. And I've also realized that we don't need to meet so much to work. So
what are you saying?
I genuinely think it's overrated. Think it's overrated. There is a lot that can get done. I'm not saying that you've got to take meeting out of the equation completely, but I also think that I've got a lot of time to do stuff that I love to do. I've been reading, I've been learning to code, I've been learning some music. I've learned a whole bunch of stuff in the learning. Actually, I don't know. I have this. I always look at everything as in an optimistic sort of way. It's unfortunate. It's difficult. The world is going through a difficult time. But at a very personal level, it's been beautiful. Actually,
I'm speechless. Speechless. But Sukesh, are you sharing the same kind of beautiful journey like Arun?
Yep, exactly. I was listening to everybody, and I was hoping that somebody would come on the other side. So, no doubt, extremely difficult times for all of us, and we all have, and for the whole, for the general people out there, everybody. But personally, I'm just talking personally. Exactly what I'm going to mirror exactly what Arun said. Haven't been home, haven't spent that much time, and more important than anything else, I really have found to figure what's really important and what's not important. I think just the time to understand, because we all keep running, one job to the other, one project to the other, one task to the other, something or the other keeps happening all the time. It's unfortunate that we got this much time, but I personally found this time to understand really what's important for myself, for the organization that I know, that I lead. What do I really want? What do I want to get out of it? And even from a work point of view, it's been really very productive. It's very, very productive. So damn tough to do, no doubt about it. Extremely difficult. So do I miss meeting people? Yes, I do. But do I really want to meet that many people that I used to meet earlier? No, I don't think so. I don't think I need to, meet that many people. But I do want to meet people. So it's been a very interesting journey, and very positive that it's taught me a lot also. Really, probably something that I would have never found the time. People pay money to go to Vipassana. People pay a lot of money to go and do this by force. This is, in a way, it just happened to everybody, and you have to just figure out what's good for you.
Just reacting to what you're saying, right? Well, I've always believed for a good long time, right? And this is what I've observed in great places across everywhere that I've worked at, is that, great ideas come out of great conversations, interesting conversations in the hallways. It's just harder to have an interesting conversation on Zoom, right? There's accidental ideas that happen when people just throw random stuff in and, without fear of judgment and all of that. And somebody picks it up and runs with it. That I don't see happening as much, right?
Bobby, I just want to add one thing to it. Amit was telling me, and when he did his feature, how he went away, to write. And I was just listening to him, and I understood that many people who write feature go away. And I said, why do you go away? Why do you go away to write a feature? What is so difficult in writing a feature? It's a long format, I get it. But why do you have to go away somewhere to sit with somebody, or, with two people sitting and writing it? So says Juhi, for example. She needs to, sit somewhere and discuss with Sujit, for example. So I think if I look at some of the other industry examples, they really work the other opposite completely of ours. They sit away somewhere and they probably produce some really moving pieces of work. How they create it. So musicians, for example, they go away. So they create creative content, which is so wonderful. So I think, yes, our industry works, you're right, because, we like to, sit together and work till late at night and, talk to each other and, order some food and, drink. So that's the way our industry has been working all this while. But on the contrary, musicians, filmmakers, they've been going away and they've been creating some outstanding pieces of work that the world loves. So maybe there's something there.
Baba, you know what? All the examples that you gave, but they are great, but they make another different point, right? All these, like a musician, especially if you're a singer songwriter and not part of a band, yeah, you can do that, right? They're all solo acts, especially now. Where this business is, let's not even call it advertising. We live in the age of collaboration, right? And collaboration, when you isolate it from each other, when you're struggling to understand each other, it's harder to do. When you don't really know each other, it's harder to do, right? This is increasingly a more and more collaborative business and not like a solo performance, right? It used to be a while back, but no longer so. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. Yeah.
No. I started my lockdown with 35 people on a Zoom call, and it's dropped down to 10 people who really matter. So it's collaborative still. But what it doesn't carry is the baggage.
It's not collaborative at the kind of level it could be.
I don't think it's a debate about whether that is good or this is good. It's just it's just way of life now. And I think it's a question of adaptability at this point in time, right? Saying how do we?
I think for some people, in accepting with grace, they find, and then there are people like me who are still kicking and screaming through it. And I think we all try to find something to hold on to. So I'll tell you, in the beginning, when the lockdown started, the Delhi spring was so beautiful. And I was like, I'm on the side of Team Earth. Yes, this is like the earth shrugging. But when the weather changed, slowly, all the trappings of everything that was, the flowers went, the weather went. And now it's really getting to me, It's getting to me with a little bit of irritability built into the day. And sometimes it comes out in my interactions.
That's true.
So just on a lighter note, I've lost 4 kilos. And just going by what Bobby said, I think that 4 kilos never belonged to me. It was part of that collaborative energy. It was someone else. I never was meant to have it.
God damn. Josy, I could use that. Josy, that's a killer diet.
Josy's really on a trip. I really want to know what he's on.
We definitely need some. That's for sure. Aggie, what were you saying?
I was just listening to Sukesh speak actually, and it's interesting what he brought up because I think a lot of the long format, so to say, creative people, because of the sheer quantum of the piece that has to be produced, when you have to think of it, you need some time off. But when we work in agencies, because our format is smaller, we too go away because, after all that discussion, Sukesh could be walking back from his room to the loo, and that walk is the go away. But because our form is so small, that's all the time we need, right?
Exactly.
So our final writing of the headline or our final writing of the copy or our final writing of the script or just getting the idea of the script, that is still alone in offices. Probably it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes or 20 minutes of that pure white moment when you're actually thinking of the hours and hours of conversation that you've had with each other. And the same with script writers and music guys. When they actually go away, they just don't hook off and go away. They've gone away after days of conversation with the director and the singer and the music and the guy who's going to be producing the music, and then they finally go away for the final actual execution. That time for them is larger than ours because the amount of output is larger than ours as well. So if we had to write a 40-second ad, and you would talk to, I don't know, in your place, whoever you'll talk to within your team, and there's a lot of conversation, and then you may just be going down to the car in your lift, and that's all the time you need to crack it.
Absolutely.
But you would have to go away, like the film writers do. If I said to you that, we have to produce a 40 ad campaign, 40 films, and so then you would have to probably go away for a longer time. It can't just happen when going down from the lift. So that go away period for everybody in the final, what we call the final landing on the helipad is there. It is the raw material before that that you tend to miss. So if we are sitting in a group and I ask somebody, what do you think of this? And if he says it's good, that before he said it's good, that pause communicates a lot to me about whether he really thinks it's good. I can't see that pause on email. I can't see that pause on a Zoom call, because then we say, what do you have to say? And he says it's good. So it still looks like he really likes it. But the reluctance with which he likes it, you can only get in a group. If you're talking to two younger writers and somebody else next to them is itching to say something, you already know that he has something positive to say, and you say, yeah, you wanted to say something. We can't see that. So all of these are difficult to articulate. But when you put it all together, it is what we are now calling, chemistry, group dynamics. It's great. You get the vibe, what we call the vibe. The vibe is this. The vibe is all the unsaid parts. The said parts are coming in on emails and WhatsApps, and they are not missing.
But actually,
it's all the in-between parts that we are missing.
Yeah, but Agi, I feel that somehow in this way of working, it's at least made people listen a little bit more. Yeah. Because people are listening a lot more carefully, and at least that it's happened to me, and making an extra effort to actually reach out to whoever I'm working with and saying, hey, you know what? There was something I felt from in the way you were responding. There was something not right. I think there is a need to go that extra mile to make that phone call or do another call to understand those nuances you would pick up a little more effortlessly before.
In fact, something very interesting.
It's what musicians would call jamming, when they just go and they just start playing something. There's no words to it. They're just doing la la la, and then finally they start putting the words to it. That part is
something very interesting. So Harshit Kanaz and I run this together. It's incredible that we sit in the same city and we don't get the time. We don't find the time to connect when we were in the same office. Or even if we met, we spoke, but we were just not, it took a lot of, to have a meal together, because we're just running everywhere, literally, all over the place. Now, because where we are actually more connected and talking more than what we were doing when we were in office together. And that's something the three of us talking the other day, and we were laughing about it, that we must continue this when we get out of this, because this is something that we learned together, three of us, and we have spoken more meaningful in the last 3 months every week than we had when we were sitting together in the same office.
Sure. And I think that's a fair point, because I think what this 3 months has done, I think for each of us individually and organizations as well, it's revealed the cracks, and it's also shown us where our strengths are. Yeah. So in terms of shared relationships, I think we know, who we can count on and who we can't. Having said that, I just want to, take this to a different level. Ajay, everybody's talked a lot about that we've managed to internalize. We've had some time for introspection. I'm actually not too sure about that, because, when you're forced to introspect, coupled with anxiety, and vulnerability, like Swati said, plus, you are, everybody is in this overdrive mode to work. I'm not particularly sure how objective our introspection is, but let's assume that you've had some learnings, about yourself, about the world at large, about advertising. What would be your, let's say, 1, 2, 3 realization?
Well, nothing very deep. I mean, it's just that you've had time to stop running. So what sometimes you realize that, this running is is not worth it, because some of them, like they say, the best things in life are free, and those simple truths are brought home to you when you sit at home. I mean, my credit card bill is almost zero now. So otherwise, I used to run up quite this thing. So you tend to
What about your electricity bill, Ajay?
Yeah, that's another story. but it's still better than the credit card bill. So,
no, don't worry. It's all going into the grocery bill. I have never seen such big grocery bills.
That's right.
And we all realized the value of the Swiggies and the Scootsies and Amazon and all of that. So a lot of stuff, there is realization. It's also made you a little stiller inside because you're staying at home. And otherwise, like everyone's been talking about, there have been positives, of course. And working from home, you've learned that you can work from home. I never thought one could, I thought it was just a senior management way of goofing off. saying that I'm working from home. There's a lot you can do sitting at home. And like Arun was mentioning and everyone, it's good fun. There's a lot of positive. But, I'd prefer to go back to office and do this occasionally. I wouldn't want this to continue forever. What the hell? You want to meet people, you want to go out. You don't want that bloody mask on your face all the time. Let's just get rid of this virus once and for all.
It's going to affect architecture for me personally, because we are not sitting around a table, right? We are not sitting horizontally around a table. We're now sitting at a vertical. So I thought when I go back to office, I'm going to break the table format and make it vertical. So we're all sitting.
And Josy's trip continues. It's coming to the physical.
This whole thing is bizarre.
Josy's like the railway compartment, the AC 3-tier or whatever 3-tier riding, those kind of seating arrangement on top of each other.
You know one thing, there's always like some great side effects to things that sort of infect you without your permission, right? Now, this thing has imposed certain conditions upon us. One of the great things that we learn, because a lot, like across the group, there are different creative leaders who run different companies. I used to talk to them. They never, hardly ever, even though they've given them everybody's phone number, they never talk to each other. But now every Friday evening at 7 o'clock for about an hour and a half, I host a session called Beers and Bitching. And so we just get drunk and curse everybody out. So there's killer bonding.
Great release.
That's something that I'm going to continue after the lockdown goes on. Right? So these things, like you begin to understand the power of technology to bring you closer when it's enforced upon you sometimes. Yeah, and it changes certain habits, which is great. But certain things that that are sort of hold good for all time. They do, right? The fact that meeting people gives you energy and all of that, that ain't going to go away.
Right. Aggie, what about you? Any deep realizations about life, about yourself?
No, I think from whatever everybody is saying, I think it's horses for courses. I think different things work for different people. For me, personally, I think the whole ritualization of, going to an office-like space and meeting office-like people and, sitting in a room and saying, this is what we have to do. That kind of psychologically puts me into that zone for thinking whatever has to be thought. I can't switch it on and off at home anyway, unless, I have to make an effort. But maybe for Arun and Sukesh, they are either permanently in that zone or they can switch it off and on whenever they feel like. But I feel it's like a cricketer, can't get into that competitive mode unless he wears his whole gear and goes out to bat. He can't. It's not easy for him to otherwise just get into that mode of intense competition on the field. But I think to a certain extent, it's maybe just triggers in our head for so many years. To a certain extent, the rituals of sitting with a group and brainstorming and it's like jamming with musicians in an office, that kind of switch on certain triggers in your head that put me into the mode to think in a particular direction for a particular brief faster than, doing it all yourself at home and self-motivating yourself. So then you realize that just the fact that, somebody's sitting down before you and has put together a proper brief in a proper manner and has put the effort in it also, evokes a responsibility in you to actually also be part of that rather than, it just being a free-flowing, dekhte hain kya aata hai, kuch hote hai kya. So right now, I think the bar is low in terms of what we have to deliver because it's so traumatic, the social, political, economic, emotional impact of this, that any reasonable good thing that we produce is good enough. Like shooting on remote without going there. At least we cobbled together an ad. So that's itself an achievement. So I think the bar is therefore low. We need to get it back to where we were, which is everything's in place. Now you better do a piece of work that's better than the last one you did or better than what anybody else is doing or what is best for your client. So right now, because the other impact on our lives is so high, I think we are happy with just kind of keeping the motions running rather than actually excelling in them like we used to, with my feeling.
We've been on so many virtual calls. It's become part of our DNA. Most people's calendars are blocked, much in advance, and we have weeks of what calls are going to happen. I'll be very curious from all of you to know, what are the behind the scenes thoughts in your heads when these calls are happening? They are long, they are monotonous, and I think in some ways we've translated meetings in the physical realm to the virtual world, but the meetings still remain.
There was a clip that an ex-colleague of mine sent me, an audio clip of an actual Zoom call like the one we are having. And one of the junior clients forgot to put himself on mute during his boss's, talk, and he went off to sleep, and he was snoring very loudly. And and I have that audio clip. I'll share it with you after the call. And it was really loud. And the poor boss is trying to, talk over it. And you could tell this guy is going to lose his job in this COVID situation, man. Poor guy. So things, interesting things are happening. There's a new sort of ecosystem of the way we are working. But there are stories everywhere.
Any interesting stories from any of you?
I just wanted to add to what I was saying with two kind of parallel examples from other things. See, technically, when you put a piece of music on of any band, there's no difference between that and what they play in a stadium, right? If you have a good enough sound system, you can blast it, or good enough earphones, you can blast it as well as in a live show. But still, what do you feel when you go to a live show or a live sporting event, for example, in a stadium, is never going to be replicated with whichever surround sound and however gigantic a screen you put. It is the same thing. It is the same match or it's the same show, correct? But there's a certain energy that comes from the real physical world that last 20% will always be remaining or incomplete, in the virtual world. Otherwise, it may now be coming true where you don't have any stadium with any crowds. People can play a match anywhere and you just sit at home and watch. But people are still itching to get into the stadium and watch, or get into the the concert hall and see a live performance. Otherwise, theater would have died and there would be only movies. But there's still a certain charge that comes with seeing it being performed before your eyes physically. So that I don't know whether there's a word for it, but that I think is the last 15 or 20%, which you can never really replicate.
Yeah, I think that's a really good analogy.
Yeah, that you can't. That you definitely can't. But the truth is, Aggie, the footballers are playing as well as they were when there were no crowds in the stadiums as well.
Yeah,
so,
same energy.
No, but we are not enjoying this.
And Liverpool goes and wins after how many years? After some God knows how many years.
That's a separate. Bring it back to meetings. The one thing that is done that I absolutely love, right? All of us have to be in meetings that we don't really have much to contribute to. We're just like exalted spectators, right? Now, previously, when in the real world, you were in the room, you could do jack except pretend to listen. And like that guy on the Zoom call, you wanted to sleep and snore, but you cannot, right? Because it sets the wrong example. And you are nothing. Part of your salary comes from being an example, all right? On this, right? When I have meetings like this, I just go to freaking YouTube and watch Dave Chappelle and these guys. Comedy clips, discover new music. And I'm listening to both things. So I know when I have to interject. So I've become great at entertaining myself and trying to sound wise when needed and I need to be. That's a skill I never had.
No, but I have acquired a whole new skill of eating during calls. Because often on global calls, it's usually so late or closer to dinner. And this whole thing of, I think my internet is down, so I'm going to switch off the video. And everybody's like, yeah, do that if it helps your voice. And you can just, There's also this thing about you really don't want to wear some of your nicer clothes because just for, and at the same time, every day you have to, so all those decisions are also pretty new.
But Sonali, I have a story to share, which is, my son has been attending school on these video calls, and he actually got caught out, like how we used to get caught for talking in school. He was caught out for actually chatting in the chat box on a Zoom call while the class was going on, and he was caught and he was punished. The next day he couldn't attend school. That was the punishment. That's the world we are living in at this point in time.
Yeah. So when this thing started, right? There was a call. I won't name what kind of call. Well, I kind of stood up and said, "Hey guys, I'm wearing pants." Just to let you know.
Probably the question is not that. The question is, were you?
I was. I stood up and let them know. I lifted my T-shirt as well. So
the other point is that there's a lot of nostalgia that comes in these days, right? I mean, all of us are going back in many ways.
Yeah.
Certainly school groups and so many other groups doing.
Such a lovely point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just incredible how nostalgia is working. And for me, it's worked slightly differently as well. I have a small terrace, so I walk 100 rounds, every night, every evening. And it's like walking on memory lane. What I do is I play the music of that year, say it's the first year of college, and I play that music and I walk. So you're literally walking on memory lane. I know this may sound psychedelic, Arun, but it's the truth, man. It's like bizarre. It's so amazing,
What Josy said, such an interesting point, even personally for me, I was in a boarding school, and it took me 25 years to get everybody from my same house. We met them at different times in your life, at different years, but to just get 10 guys from across the world together on a one call, that happened for me, okay? Families happened for me. It's interesting that with all the, hardship that is there, that can't go away, that you can't, can't even wash it off, whatever. A lot of interesting, things that have happened that probably will stay with us also for the rest of our lives. We'll remember them because of these things. You always take them ahead.
I think it's like a highlighter, no? It's like a highlighter. It highlights every moment of those days.
Josy, it's amazing what you said. So I live in a building and I was running in circles for 1 hour in my building in Bombay, a standalone building. Yeah. The day they opened Juhu Beach, I was like free bird. I'm not joking. I went at 6 o'clock in the morning. I say I'm going to run because the Juhu Beach is open, because it's across the road for me. Wow. And it felt so I mastered the art of running in circles, for 1 hour. Yeah. You get giddy after, when you stop, you get giddy, because you're just going round and round.
Absolutely.
But that kept me going, because if I didn't do that, you do 9 to 9, you do all this zooming for the whole day. Your brains will be like wired out, man. You have to do something to get out,
man.
Something right. So for me, that was that 1 hour every evening. I had to do it. Otherwise, I would go mad. I couldn't have gone the next day. But it felt awesome.
Tell me something. Is there a specific kind of fatigue that just comes from hearing voices electronically? Because there is, right? Because sometimes it's some kind of, there are some days I go to sleep at 9 because I just
you're tired. Yeah. So
the thing is, it's not just your voice, you have headphones in your ear for a very long time. People's body language and their facial expressions on this little screen, and you don't know, because the words are one thing, right? A lot of the nuances of what they really mean come from the expressions on their faces and their body language. The pauses.
I think Swati, it may be also because everybody's voice tends to become similar, not same, but closer to each other, because you're actually listening to everybody, like maybe 100 people a day from the same distance. Whereas in real life, somebody's close to you, somebody's further away from you, you're hollering across the corridor, but now because you're in front of the laptop or the phone, and they are in front of their laptop and the phone, so you're actually listening to all these people from the same distance to you.
I think it's screen time, It's like, remember the days when you're really writing, and I used to write till late at night, and the nights that I wrote till pretty late at night, I'll wake up next morning saying, I think it's more to do with computer screen, because, you're sitting in front of a computer for such long time. In a meeting, for example, like Aggie or Bobby was saying, you get up and just go get coffee or something, you walk out, you come back, you get those moments, otherwise you're sitting in front of the screen, and that's the number of hours, I have the screen monitor, and I'm amazed the hours that we're spending in front of that in a week. It's crazy. I've never done that ever. So that's I think that has the effect on us.
The other thing is there's no handshake, right? There's no handshake, there's no tapping, there's no touching. So it's like there's so much energy in all that, and we're losing that. So maybe
but even earlier, I think even Arun and all will know, right? When we've done presentations without going to Delhi. It was never the same.
Yeah.
Than being there. So otherwise it would have been so easy. So if it's really important, we'll say we'll come there.
The thing is, we are spending less on pitches. Like the fact that we are not like sitting on planes. Like I've been a part of 3 global pitches now. It's like that at least makes it cost efficient. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just we spend so much money.
Definitely, there are certain changes that are going to happen, right? The people who can work from home, because one of the biggest the thing after people is real estate. That's one of the biggest costs that agencies have. So that possibly get downsized for sure. But I'll say one thing. One of the great, I think,
the finance department and all, for example.
Yeah.
If security is sorted, they don't need to sit in an office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Swati, but cost efficiency at what cost is what I would say.
Exactly.
Deep one, Swati, the deep one.
Yeah.
But don't you? I don't know. I just feel, with all this costs, the problems of how we are facing, and things are sometimes when with our numbers going down, I have started feeling a lot. I'm become more sensitive to how expensive sometimes our pitches become, with no guarantee of what kind of business we'll eventually get, because everybody comes there thinking like, hey, we just want great work. They don't like to talk about how much money will they actually spend. And I feel in all this, we kind of really get, the short end of the stick.
Maybe we'll stop pitching for free after this. Maybe look at
I
the
hope
right
so.
side.
No, I know.
You know what? I would love for that to happen.
As an organization, just like I really think that if 10, 15 decide this and say that we're not going to, okay, so you want us to pitch, pay at least the cost of it, That's a fair thing. I don't want your business for free. If you want us to, you pay the cost goes into whatever it is. I think if we take a stand, it can be done. And it's about time, because these are the times that, one has to do that. And I hope that it comes out of it, because I don't think anything should be given for free at all. No, nothing should be given for free. And I don't mean that, give me the business without seeing what my credentials are. But please pay for what the output costs.
Sukesh, I have a confession to make. We've been around for about 16 months. We haven't done a single pitch yet.
Superb. I'm very proud of you. I'm extremely proud of you. I have won 4 businesses, in lockdown. And I'm very happy to say that, what Swati said, no cost spend, nothing. It was pretty clear. In fact, the conversation was very direct. We just got to know on a call like this, and we were lucky. But I just feel as an organization, as agencies going forward, we must charge for what we spend. Yeah, it's not be free.
Absolutely.
Or we should not pitch. I mean, just not do it. So I'm very happy, Arun. Like I said, when you started off, I hope you set some examples. Good for you.
Trying, man.
No, go for it.
I think, it's been quite a real conversation. I'm so happy we've done this. And thank you for actually coming on board and giving us the time to just have a free chat. I think people who would watch this, I think it's going to be beneficial for them too. A lot of you are very highly respected in the industry. So for the young people who are suffering during this trying times, I think this will be some kind of relief that the gurus are also are facing trying times. They're also dealing with things. Having said that, very quickly, each one of you can tell me that when you guys come out and we come out on the other side, you guys are creative people. You're wired in a certain way. You seek energy from the world and then release it through your creative output. Will that change a bit? Because finally, we're all a bit impacted. We've all changed a little bit.
I just want to give my team a hug for doing so wonderful, for standing so strong. I want to do a real hug. And I want to get into it like Aggie said, like an Indian cricket team huddle. And I want to do a physical huddle and give them a shabashi for standing so strong through all this. So I'm going to do that for sure. And I want physical contact, like Aggie said. I want to be in the, I wish I have a stadium-sized ground because we are so many people. get into a big huddle, man, and give a big hug to everybody in real physical hug.
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Rohit to, like, the first day we go back, I want us to have a sleepover. I want to sleep in my office and I want to come home in the morning. I just have to do that. And I'm going to do that, even if it means I'm alone on that sofa. I want to just...
You want to go, Ajay, next?
When I go back to office, I'd like to take the entire team, like Sukesh said, but instead of a group hug, I'd like to take them out for a beer. I think that's more productive and they'll like it better. Yeah. So I think that's something I'd love to do because, you miss people and everyone has been hanging in there and, I never thought that much of work could come out, of a work from home situation, and some of it is very decent work. So that's something I'd love to do: take everyone out and just feel the air and just walk outside and then walk in somewhere and have a drink and do things that we used to do earlier.
I think I would love to actually take the entire team and go off to Goa or something and just spend 3 days. Just living together. I think that will be amazing because we've kind of lived apart and and held together. I think it's important to now live together and hold together as well. So
I'll just build on that because just on March 5th, we had gone, all of us had gone to Goa, 100 of us. And we came back and there was a lockdown a few days later. So we decided that when this is all over, we go back and repeat the whole thing. And imagine that those 3 or 4 months never happened.
You'll be the supplier of this potent stuff that you've been having, where we can have this amazing trip.
Hey, Josy, I don't think you should do that. There'll be a lockdown again.
How about you, Aggie?
I think if the first day I'd like to walk to office because it's about a 45-minute walk, and I don't think I just want to sit in a car and get to office because I've been inside for a long time. But maybe a day or two in the office with everybody, but no work. Because we've been in office at work and we've been at home at work. So it would be good to spend one whole day without any work. I don't know whether it'll be possible and whether I could be held to this, but it would be nice to spend time talking to everybody about, how they manage at home. And the good thing is there's a lot to talk about. There's no lack of conversation points in this.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And Bobby?
A couple of things, right? I think there are some great things we can take out of it, right? My adversity, creativity, right? There's been some really great work produced on almost zero budgets, right? Nike's, for now, just don't do it. It's just type and music. It's freaking awesome, right? So there's inspiration to be taken from that. Amongst the greatest of restrictions, creativity can still shine because that's what the innovation is all about. The other thing is, I think, this time, right, when a disease made victims of all of us, it powered the movement called Black Lives Matter across the world, right? I put it to you that this wouldn't have happened if this disease hadn't hit everybody, right? All of us know what it feels like to be a victim. And so when we saw a white man put a knee on a black man's neck for 8 minutes, 46 seconds, and that guy cried for his breath, and then his mother and died, we all felt for it. And so many people have come out on the streets, right? And that has had an effect on brands. Today, I think nobody can sit on the sidelines, right? Right now, I think a brand's values are as important, if not more important, than its value for money, right? So I think these are fundamental changes that are happening. I think the other thing we've got to realize, that people have realized, is that, at the end of the day, all businesses function on human capital. Hold your people near and close to you. Embrace certain causes where you have diverse points of view, diverse genders, diverse ethnicities, all of that, right? Because you need all of these things. And that's where the world is going. And I think that's the great thing that's come out of this pandemic.
Yeah.
That's very deep.
Very deep. Josy, you pass it on to Bobby now.
No. Bobby just said it, because one of the words that I keep thinking about is contribution. What has the pandemic contributed to in a positive way? And I keep thinking about what have we contributed as creative people in this. And I think when Bobby said it, he sort of beautifully answered that.
Guys, before I sign out, I hope next year, I don't know what the future holds for all of us, but I do hope next year in June, if required, we all wear our PPE suits and go to Cannes and have some rosé.
Rosé roti.
And earn our rosé roti. On that note, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Truly lovely having this candid speak. And I hope to do more of these sessions. I thought this really helped me just talk it out and understand how people are doing. I hope people who watch this also enjoy this as much. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Great seeing you. Yeah.
Bye, guys.